Brett Okamoto with ESPN alongside UFC President Dana White following UFC 240 in Edmonton. Max Holloway defends his featherweight championship against Frankie Edgar. He won all 5 rounds according to 2 of the judges. You know, that was 3 months ago. He fought Dustin Poirier, tough fight, comes back down and shows that he is still the king at 145 pounds. What did you think?
Yeah, no, he's amazing. And, you know, you got to give Frankie credit, too, for how I had Frankie losing every round, too. But you didn't see Max hunt him down and unload on him like he has been people lately at that weight class. He showed him a lot of respect, a lot of speed. You know, Frankie Edgar's got a ton of speed and used his movement well tonight against Holloway. That's
true, I agree. I mean, even though the scores were mostly 50-45, it was about as close as a 50-45 fight could be. He wasn't ran out of the octagon by any means, but what's next for Frankie Edgar? He is now 0-5 in this weight class in title fights. What do you think is his future?
Well, not a title shot. Let's start there. I mean, the future for Frankie Edgar is, you know, what does the guy want to do next? What's left to accomplish? I know he loves to win world titles, and, you know, the belt means everything to him. I don't know. I don't know what's next for him.
I'll tell you, it reminds me of when he was fighting at lightweight, in that he didn't look old tonight. You know, a lot of people are saying, hey, he's 37. When is this guy going to fall off a cliff? He hasn't. Right. But he did look small. He looks like a guy who was fighting in a weight class that maybe he should go down.
But that's the story of his career. He's always looked small. He looked small at 55. You know, I cried about that for years, that he should move down.
You did.
And now he's at 45. I mean, he's small, and he's always going to look small. But his heart and his skill are massive, and, you know, the guy's a legend, and like you just said, he didn't look old tonight. But I don't think he'll be getting a title shot anytime soon again. But, I mean, the guy is an absolute legend.
Well, like you mentioned, you got involved earlier in his career trying to talk him out of 155. Would you ever say, hey, Frankie, I don't think it'd be the worst idea, or does he not want to hear that from you at this point?
Nah, I don't think he wants to hear that. Plus, you know, at almost 40, who wants to talk about cutting all kinds of weight again and stuff like that? I don't know. The guy's had an incredible career. We'll see what he wants to do next. Let him go home, spend some time with his family, and figure out what's next.
Okay, so obvious question here about Max Holloway. You had Alex Volkanovski sitting there front row, flew in, weighed in. He was the backup in case anything happened. Now you've got this major event at UFC 243 in Melbourne. I would imagine that you would want Max Holloway fighting Alex Volkanovski in that type of atmosphere. Is that the plan right now?
Yeah, no, not right now. You know, we'll go home and, again, figure out what's next for everybody. How does Max feel? I don't know how Max feels. I don't know if Max is hurt. I don't know, you know, I don't know anything about Max right now. So, again, let him go spend some time with his family and take some time off and see what's next.
Cris Cyborg, Felicia Spencer in the co-main event. Pretty dominant by Cyborg, but man, Felicia's tough. She hung in there. What did you make of Cyborg's performance tonight?
So tough, and I was very impressed with Felicia. Think about this, when that girl really starts to feel like this is her home, and, you know, starts to, you know, imagine the adrenaline dump she had before she walked tonight in her home country against Cyborg in the UFC. She was impressive. She's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Incredible chin, great power, busted Cyborg up, landed some big elbows on her. Yeah, I was impressed.
She handled it incredibly well. I watched her walk out. You couldn't even tell really she was in a fight. And she took some big shots in that fight.
I talked to her after the fight, too. She was great. She said she loved the experience. And, yeah, I look forward to seeing her compete again.
All right, so what happens from here? And I know that you can't give us an answer of exactly where this is going to go, but this was a storyline coming in. Cris Cyborg on the last fight of her UFC contract. Yep. What happens from here?
That's up to Cris. I mean, you know, obviously Amanda Nunes was blowing me up all night. She's like, get her to take this fight, get her to take this fight. You know, and I know every time I speak, Cyborg thinks I'm speaking negatively about her, which I'm not. I'm just speaking facts. After watching her fight tonight, and after her last fight, I don't blame her for not wanting to fight Amanda Nunes. It just, if that was Amanda Nunes in there tonight, you know, Cyborg's been around for a long time. I think, in my honest opinion, Cyborg sees herself in the twilight of her career. And, you know, I think she would like some easier fights. And there's nothing wrong with that. Many fighters have left here to move on to easier fights, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you get to a certain age and a certain point in your career, and when you look like Cris looked tonight, if that was Amanda Nunes, it's a whole nother ballgame. I don't blame her for that. I'm not criticizing her for that. But these are facts, and the fact is I will make the fight if she wants to fight Amanda. and Amanda wants to fight.
If that is the case, and she does elect to part ways, if you guys both elect to part ways, go your own ways, whatever you want to say it.
Right.
I have long said that I wonder what will happen to the 145-pound division if Cris Cyborg is not around. I mean, she was
the baddest woman on the planet. Is the champion at 145 pounds.
Yeah.
What do you mean, what would happen to it?
And she also holds the belt at 135.
Exactly. The best woman ever to fight holds the 35 and 45 pound. You know what's going to happen to it? It's going to get defended by the baddest chick in the world. Okay. That's what's going to happen to it.
So you do see enough 145-pounders out there to keep Amanda busy at both weight classes?
Yeah, Amanda wants to stay busy. Amanda wants to fight. Amanda is the woman to do it. She's the best ever, and she has both belts, and she's the one to do it.
Let's look ahead real quickly while I still got you. UFC 241, DC versus Stipe. It's a rematch of a fight that took place a year ago. Just quickly, because of this fight's coming up, why was this the fight? And give me your thoughts on the rematch between those two.
Well, obviously, Stipe's been dying for this rematch. Daniel was looking forward to fighting Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
That whole thing didn't work out. So the stud that he is, he said, let's do Stipe then. Stipe's the fight to make, and it really is. That's the fight to make right now at heavyweight, and that's the fight to make for both those fighters. If
DC wins on August 17th, and that is a big if, how much of a priority is it for you to try to get him in there with Jon Jones fight? I know this is something we talk about constantly. How big on your priority list is to try and make that fight happen while DC is still in this sport?
I know they both want it, and they both want it at 205. So if the stars align and everything works out, that would probably be the fight that I would make.
Okay. Just a couple more questions not related to this event. You know, I pay attention a lot to everything that you say. You mentioned, you have been saying that, we could get Conor McGregor back by the end of the year. It seems like over the last week that you have been kind of changing that to early 2020. Has there been something changed? Are you anticipating not seeing Conor this year and maybe early next?
No, time is just flying. The summer's almost over, and time is flying fast. Again, I say the same thing. Let's see what happens in September with Khabib and Poirier, and we'll go from there. He could fight this year. He could fight early next year.
Okay. And then how about Jon Jones? I know he was in the headlines. Now he's in a legal case. I'm sure you're not going to make a comment on that. But as far as what he's going through, would that prevent you from making any plans for him? Are you able to book him a fight, or do you have to kind of wait and see how that plays out?
I've seen some of these videos, and no, I don't see this being a problem. Listen, I don't want to say anything about the case because I don't know enough about it or whatever, but I've seen videos. Horrible. It's just, yeah. I see Jon Jones fighting this year, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can leave it at that. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you is earlier this week you did confirm that you have made a hire to help out on the Zuffa boxing. He will have an office in your facility. Did I hear this right?
Correct.
But I noticed that you didn't announce who that was.
Yeah, because it's not all done yet. But yeah, I've hired a guy. We've both come to an agreement that he will come run Zuffa boxing.
Give us just some kind of just brief, just generalization. Dana White's role in boxing by the end of this year will be what?
Dana White's role in boxing? Well, it'll be what my role in MMA is. I am going to do everything I can to build the sport, move it forward, put together the biggest fights with the best fighters possible, and shake the game up a little bit.
Have any of the details started to crystallize at all in terms of the roster that you may inherit? Are you going to go out and sign guys, or are you starting to know what this is going to look like?
When I get this guy in place and we announce and do all that stuff, I'll have a press conference and I'll lay everything out for you guys.
How does this feel just for you professionally? I mean, you've been promoting big fights around the world for what now, 15 years? So getting into boxing now, are you feeling something different that you haven't felt in a while? Or does this still feel just the same? What is this like for you?
No, I mean, to sit here and talk about it is one thing. To get in there and actually do it and actually make it successful is another. Once I start doing that, then I'll have something to feel and talk about and be excited about it. But until I can actually start to make it successful, if I can, I don't really feel that way yet.
We're looking forward to seeing how it shakes out. Thanks for the time, and congratulations on a good event tonight.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming and special content, subscribe to ESPN+.